everyone, welcome back to the weekly True Crime News Mama, where every week we dive into the latest true crime stories, missing persons cases, and headline updates from across the country and across the world. I'm your host, Patty, a working mom who breaks down the facts so you don't have to go dig for them. Grab your coffee and let's get into this week's cases. First up, we have a man accused of keeping 4 adults locked in his basement for years, and he has now also been charged with murder. This next case comes out of South Carolina, and it is both heartbreaking and horrifying. Investigators say a 35-year-old man who allegedly held several vulnerable adults captive in his basement for years has now been charged with murder in connection to the death of one of those victims. Lancaster Police Chief Don Roper announced that Donnie Ray Birchfield Jr., age 35, has officially been charged with murder and first-degree criminal sexual conduct after the death of 49-year-old Shirley Arnsdorf, a woman police say was living under his control. The announcement came during a press conference streamed live on October 17th. According to investigators, police were called to Birchfield's Lancaster home back on July 25th for a report of a death. When officers arrived, they found Shirley laying on the floor, unresponsive. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities believe she died the day before, on July 24th, but that Birchfield didn't report it until a day later. Detectives immediately suspected foul play and say they began to uncover evidence that pointed to a much bigger, much darker situation unfolding inside that home. Birchfield was first arrested on August 1st, facing charges of neglect of a vulnerable adult, false imprisonment, and exploitation of vulnerable adults, among several others. But as the investigation continued, police say they found enough evidence to bring the new murder charge. What investigators allege they discovered inside Birchfield's home is disturbing. He was reportedly the sole caregiver for Shirley and her husband, both of whom were considered vulnerable adults who couldn't care for themselves. But authorities say he didn't care for them, he controlled them. Court documents claim he monitored every move that they made, when they could eat, when they could use the bathroom, and even how they communicated with the outside world. Officers also found signs of physical abuse and a complete lack of medical attention. As police dug deeper, they found 2 more women inside the home, both allegedly being held against their will. Investigators believe one woman had been there since 2015 and another since late 2024. Both women were said to have been romantically involved with Birchfield at some point. Authorities also accused Birchfield of financial exploitation, alleging he used his victims' money for his own expenses. Reports indicate he spent over $11,000 of the vulnerable couple's funds paying off his own credit card debt and shopping trips. The South Carolina Attorney General's office has now taken over prosecution of the case, describing it as one of the most shocking instances of long-term abuse and control they've seen in years. Birchfield remains in custody without bond at the Lancaster County Detention Center, and additional charges may still be forthcoming as the investigation continues. That is all we have for this case for now, but we will continue to monitor and bring you any forthcoming developments as new details come out. Next up, we have new details that have been revealed about the murder of Maleesa Mooney, the pregnant model found in her refrigerator. In this case, we have disturbing new information that has emerged in the ongoing case surrounding the death of Maleesa Mooney, a 31-year-old Los Angeles model who was found bound and gagged inside her own refrigerator last year. During a court hearing on October 16th, prosecutors shared new evidence and insights into the relationship between Maleesa and her accused killer, 43-year-old Magnus Humphrey. According to the Los Angeles Times, the two had known each other for less than a week before her murder, reportedly becoming romantically involved for just 5 days. Prosecutors say they met through Humphrey's estranged brother, and in that short time, Humphrey allegedly became fixated on Maleesa. A friend of the victim, Kirsten Dossett, testified that Humphrey was, quote, obsessive, barely letting Maleesa out of his sight. She recalled him saying things like, quote, "That's my girl, that's my woman," and even talking about marriage after just a few days. Maleesa had even attended a family barbecue with him shortly before her death. According to forensic testimony from the Los Angeles Police Department, Maleesa's body was found stuffed inside her apartment refrigerator, bound with electrical cords and pieces of fabric torn from a dress. A piece of clothing had also been forced several inches into her mouth. Investigators said she had bruising consistent with being beaten and whipped, and clumps of her hair had been pulled from her head. Medical examiner Bryce Hunt testified that her cause of death was determined to be, quote, homicidal violence, end quote, likely due to asphyxiation. Authorities have not said whether she was still alive when she was placed in the refrigerator. Prosecutors described the murder as, quote, cold, calculated, and premeditated, end quote, though a specific motive has not been confirmed. They suggested there may have been tension over money between the two in the days leading up to her death. Humphrey's defense attorney, Michael Lambrose, argued that the prosecutor's case lacks direct evidence, noting that no witnesses saw the crime take place. He acknowledged that DNA evidence confirmed Humphrey's presence at the scene and that the two had been intimate, but claimed that doesn't prove he killed her. Lambrose told the court that Humphrey, quote, cared deeply, end quote, for Maleesa and had talked about marriage. Despite his defense, a judge ruled that there is sufficient evidence for Humphrey to stand trial for torture and murder. He's also eligible for the death penalty, though prosecutors have not announced whether they plan to pursue it. According to police reports, officers were called to conduct a welfare check on September 12, 2023, after Maleesa's mother couldn't reach her. When police entered her downtown Los Angeles apartment, they made the horrifying discovery. Surveillance footage later showed Maleesa alive 6 days earlier on September 6, the last time she was seen. The LAPD announced in February 2024 that they had identified Humphrey, who was living in Hopkins, Minnesota, as a suspect. He was eventually arrested at his home on unrelated federal drug charges before being extradited to California to face charges in Maleesa's death. Maleesa's sister, recording artist Jordan Pauline, later revealed that Maleesa had been 2 months pregnant at the time of her death, a detail that made the tragedy even harder for the family to bear. That's all we have at this time for this case. We will continue to monitor and we will keep you updated on any further developments as we receive them. Thanks for watching the Weekly True Crime News Mama, your source for weekly true crime news and updates. If you found this video helpful or interesting, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next case update. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing your insights. Until next time, stay informed, stay aware, and stay curious.